Hey, amazing people. What we're going to do today is we're going to look at the area of shapes. Particularly, we're going to look at a rectangle and a square as we go about this. Now, here we've got two examples which we want to find the area of. The first of these is a rectangle. And for this rectangle, what we want to do is we want to be able to work out how big it is. Now, one key thing here with a rectangle is, particularly this one, you can see how the 5 centimeters for the length represents the 5 boxes that we have here in the grid. And then the width of it, or the breadth of 3 centimeters, we can see that there's the 3 boxes down here. Now, this is important for when we're finding area, because this is the idea of how area works. Now, when we're finding the area of a rectangle, we use this formula where we have A is equal to length times the breadth, or the width of the object. Now, in this case here, what we need to do is we just need to substitute the numbers of 3 and 5 into this formula. So as we go about that here, we're going to have A is going to be equal to the length is 5 centimeters, and the width, or the breadth, is going to be 3 centimeters. When we multiply these together, we get 15 centimeters squared. Okay, and you can see that, so if we were to count the number of grid squares in this rectangle, we could see that there's 15. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So you can see how there's that correlation, that match between that. Now, next to it, we have a square. Now, first things first, in this square, you'll notice that it's got these markings on each of the sides. Each of these markings are just indicating each of these side lengths are the same, so that you don't have to write 7 centimeters again. Now, in addition to that, when you're finding the area of a square, it's generally defined as being A is equal to S squared, where S is just representing the side length of that square. Now, another way of thinking about S squared is it's just S times S in this regard. So in this case here, S is going to be equal to 7 centimeters. So the area in this case is going to be equal to 7 squared, or if we think about it in its other way, that's 7 times 7. And so as we work this out now, 7 squared is 49, and that's going to be centimeters squared. Now in this next example, we've got a shape here which is on a grid background. Now the reason of using the grid background, it can be helpful for finding area. Now in this particular shape, we don't have any lengths or distances on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use each of the grid squares which we have to identify the area of this object. And now this object also is not correct, because it's got some triangle type shapes added as well. But that's okay, we can still work out the area of it. Now the way we're going to go about that is we're going to count the number initially of full squares, which are fully inside this shape. Then we're going to start to count some partial squares. So let's start off by counting the full squares. Okay, so we can see here by the counting numbers that we've got 24 full squares here. Now, in addition to this, we want to be able to count up the partial squares as well. So what we're going to do is, generally these look to be about half of a square. We're going to put 2 of them together and count that as another full square. So up the top here, we've got these 2 here. This would then be number 25. The next ones here would be number 26. Then down the bottom here, that would be 27. And these 2 here, this would be 28. And so from this, what we could then say is the area is equal to 28, and given this looks like about centimeters, this would be centimeters squared. So we're 28 centimeters squared for the area of this shape.